Friend, you do not need to be confident to feel seen. Now, let me say that again because I spent a really long time not believing that. You wrote the caption, you created the video, and it is sitting right now in your camera roll. You still haven't posted it yet. You had the idea, you knew exactly what you wanted to pitch, you even had the boundary that you were trying to set, you even knew what the ask was that you were looking for. And when the moment came, something in you just got quiet. So listen, most of us are not afraid of doing the thing. What we are actually afraid of is being watched while we're doing it. We're afraid of being judged before we feel ready. And we're even more afraid that the version of us that shows up is going to be the wrong version. So we wait, and we wait some more, and we wait till we feel more ready, more polished, more confident. But what really happens is that waiting then becomes our whole story. So I want to offer you a different frame today. I recently sat down with a professional actor, Bernard Gilbert, and he's done television, film, and theater. You may know him from The Chi on Showtime, where he played Swade the masseuse, and he's also appeared on Chicago Fire and a whole lot of other things. And I'll let him tell you himself if you go and watch the full interview. He also happens to be my husband. But that is not why we are here. We are here because he has spent his whole entire career walking into rooms being evaluated again and again and again. He's heard no more times than most of us could even stomach. And he still shows up time and time again. So I asked him, what do actors know about visibility, about presence, about being seen, even before you feel fully ready, that maybe the rest of us just weren't taught? I'm going to give you 5 tips from the acting world, and I promise you, these are going to land different than any confidence tips that you've ever heard before. By the end of this video, you will know how to show up before you even feel ready. You'll also have a framework to use before any major conversation or big ask that might scare you. And you will have body-based techniques to use when your nervous system is like on the fritz and it is the thing standing between you and the moment. And if anxiety around rejection is something you deal with, putting out your work and then getting anxious because you don't know how it's going to land, stick around because you have a completely different way for seeing it. Okay, let's just get into this. So you can have presence without confidence. Presence isn't a feeling. It is a decision to show up anyway. And I think that's where a lot of us get confused. We feel like we need to feel confident before we actually show up, when confidence is usually the result of showing up. So it is not the prerequisite. So Bernard told us a story about earlier in his career when he was so nervous before a performance that he was literally about to break out into hives. He was just unsure of himself and unsure of what was going to happen, but he still went out on stage. And people loved what he did, but he walked off that stage still nervous, still unsure, and not quite aware of how it landed with everyone. And the audience never knew because he just went up there and did his job. And so I think that's the thing with a lot of us. Most of us don't actually lack confidence. I think we're just nervous about being judged. And those are 2 completely different problems with completely different solutions. There's an actual term for this. It is called a visibility wound. You may or may not have heard it before, but it is a nervous system response where being fully seen, expressing your authentic self, genuinely feels dangerous to you. Not being dramatic and not trying to overact here, but your nervous system genuinely perceives that being seen is a threat. And this comes from a very real place. Being critiqued, being rejected, being made to feel that the version of you that keeps showing up is just always the wrong one. Being seen has never been neutral for some of us. If you are a person of color, if you are a woman, there's a history attached to it. There are rooms where our confidence can be seen as aggression. So shrinking has honestly felt like the safest option at times. And we learned early on that being too loud, too much, too visible could cost us something. So Bernard actually talked about this in our interview. He said that he was teased when he was growing up for being dark-skinned, and his response was to just coast, play the background, not ruffle too many feathers, and just be as cool as possible, kind of ride the wave. And that in no way is a confidence problem. That is in fact a survival strategy. And honestly, a lot of us are still running that same thing right now. So we shrink and we wait and we edit our words. But what if the antidote wasn't more confident? What if it's just presence? What if it's deciding to show up as you are, even when you're still nervous, but trusting that you can do your job from there. Quick reminder, this is a part of a series called Girl, Then What Happened? So this full conversation with Bernard, your companion syllabus, your class notes, and your homework, it all lives on my Substack, and the link is in the description. So go grab your desk supplies right now. This next one changed something for me personally. So I struggle with rejection, and we talked about what it feels like to put the work out there, not book the job, and like, what do you do? And so he shared something with me that his teacher shared with him. The job is to audition, not to book it. Booking the job would be the best case scenario. It's like what we all hope for. But booking the job is not the job. Your job is to show up. It's to do the work. It's to give it everything that you have, and then it's to just let it go. He called it being process oriented, and he talked about how directors communicate differently with actors who understand this. So a bad direction sounds like this: be more sadder, be bigger, be louder. Like, it's all results based. It's all outcome, and it doesn't give the actor anything to really work with. So a good direction gives you a process. It gives you a scenario. It gives you something that you can move through, something your body could actually respond to. So here's where this lands for you. How many of us are evaluating everything we create by the outcome? Don't leave me hanging. I know I'm not the only one. We're looking at the likes, the shares, the sales. We're looking at the response of things. And when it doesn't match what we hoped, we just think that the effort wasn't worth it. And sometimes you start to think that you're not good enough, or maybe you weren't cut out for whatever it was. But like, what if the job is to just show up? It's to create, it's to post, it's to pitch, it's to speak up and raise your hand and like do the thing, send the email, right? What if that is the job and the outcome is just data? Something that really stuck with me that Bernard said is that after he submits an audition tape, like, he doesn't even think about it. He measures himself against himself. So did he understand the story? Did he get the beats right? Did he do enough? And if the answer is yes, he says, job well done. He's not waiting for someone else's measure of success to tell him that he did a good job. Now, what could change if we all did the same? Presence is built, not found. Okay, so now that we know that presence and confidence are two separate things, we know that the job is the process and not the result. But I want to have a real conversation here about what it looks like to show up consistently, because it's not just some magic trick. In our interview, Bernard said this very plainly. It's simply reps put in. You do the thing so many times that you stop thinking about doing the thing. You're just doing it. And when you stop thinking about it, the confidence doesn't even matter anymore because you're just in it. He also made a distinction that I think is really important. He said that the times where he felt the least confident before an audition were the times where he was the least prepared in the ways that he could actually control. We talked about daily preparation, the workout, the sleep, the nutrition. So taking care of himself wasn't some rush cram session the week before a big opportunity took place. When the opportunity came, he already looked and felt exactly like he wanted to. That means it was handled, and the only thing that was left was to show up and do the work. You cannot cram for confidence. You can't decide the morning or the night before a big presentation or scary pitch that you have, or just like a really big opportunity that I'm ready and I'm going to feel ready. Confidence is not a feeling that you access in the moment. It is the result of small things that you did every day before that moment arrived. So the content that you post when you are completely unsure how it's going to land, preaching to myself there, or the pitch that you have and you know that it was like too early and you're still figuring out the business plan, but you sent it to somebody to partner or collab with, or your voice shaking, right? When you're trying to have a really important conversation with someone. Those are all the reps that build the thing. It's not that one big swing. The visibility framework. Anytime you watch one of my videos, I want you to walk away with something that can change your life immediately. So get your notebook out, because here it goes. So Bernard teaches acting at the Alliance Theater here in Atlanta, and the foundational thing that he teaches his students is built around 3 principles: objectives, tactics, and obstacles. But we should break those down. Your objective is what you want. It's pretty simple. It is, what are you trying to get or achieve in the situation? So your tactics are your action words. So literally, what are the actions that you are going to take to move you towards your objective? You can encourage, you can challenge, you can invite, you can deflect. Those are not strategies. Those are things that your body actually does. And your objectives are anything that can get in your way. So a personal story, a relationship dynamic, maybe it's your own fears. And if you do not understand your objectives, you are just guessing, and you are truly just just shooting in the dark. Okay, so let's have a little story time here. One of Bernard's students is a clinical psychologist. And so a part of his job is that he always gets brought into court to testify as an eyewitness. And every time he would go up, he would get cross-examined, meaning the other side would literally pick him apart on the stand. But then he took Bernard's class and he came back and told Bernard that he stopped getting cross-examined. And so Bernard's like,
okay, cool, like what happened? What shifted?
And he told him that when he started walking into the courthouse, he got very clear on what his objective was. His one objective was running in a loop in his head. I'm the expert, I'm the expert, I'm the expert, and I will carry myself as one. So he started presenting like it, and the other side stopped coming for him. So that is objectives, tactics, and obstacles working in real life. His objective was to be seen and received as the expert in the room. And for him, his tactics were internal. It was the mantra. It was how he held and carried himself, how he presented himself. And the obstacle was a room that was designed to make him doubt his authority. So this man did not wait till he felt more confident. He decided to get clear, and then he moved accordingly. Let's apply this outside of the courtroom. Maybe you want to raise at work, or you want to raise your rates with a client. So your objective is to communicate your value and to land on a new number. And so your tactic might be to come in with data, with receipts showing your results, right? You want to speak clearly and directly without apology. Your obstacle might be that the client has been with you since the very beginning. And so you still see yourself as the person who charges less. Or if you're looking for a raise, you've just been in that position for so long that you believe that is the confinements that you belong in. Knowing the obstacle does not mean that you don't do it. It means choosing a tactic that matches the obstacle and going in eyes wide open. So you can use this whole process, this whole framework, anytime you just have like a hard conversation or a hard thing that you feel like you might have to do. Just ask yourself, what do I want? What actions can I take? And what might get in my way? Separate your identity from the outcome. Okay. Okay, no, really, this is the last one, and this is the one I want you to carry with you. During our little chit chat, I asked Bernard, how do you keep going after hearing so many no's? Honestly, I can just imagine how discouraging that would be. And how do you separate yourself from the rejection? Because I think this is where a lot of us get tripped up in. We do a thing, we put work out, we release something, and it doesn't land the way that we hoped. And we don't just think that the work failed or the piece failed. We start to think that we failed. And he shared something that one of his mentors shared with him. An audition is them asking you to come in and paint a tree. You go in, you paint the tree, but you cannot go in and paint the exact tree that you think that they want to see because you're not a mind reader. So when you go in, you paint the most clear, the most accurate, the most committed version of that tree that you can. You follow through, you're authentic, then you let it live and you just let it go. Because here's the thing, maybe they wanted a different tree and maybe they needed a tree that didn't look anything like yours, but that is not a verdict on the tree that you presented. That's just not being the right tree on the right day for that particular room. And that honestly felt so freeing for me to hear. But I'm going to ask you, what is your thing? What is your tree? Before we go, I want to give you some actual homework because the conversation was not just concepts. It was things you can actually put into practice today. So I want to be clear why this matters, because your nervous system is not going to be talked out of fear. You can't think your way into presence. Your body has to be involved as well. And this is something that actors or people in the wellness space, hi to all my yogis, have known for a really, really long time. And I think the rest of us are just catching up. So this exercise comes from Kristen Linklater, who does a lot of work on freeing the natural voice, which happens to be the title of her famous book. And the practice starts with something very simple, a sigh. And not a performative sigh, not a huge dramatic sigh, but just a sigh. Like you just got home from a really long day at work and you just sat down and collapsed. So I want you to breathe in through your mouth and then just out through the mouth with the sigh. This seems really simple, but what you're actually doing is finding in your body where your natural voice actually lives. Not the performative voice you put on when the camera comes on or the one you put on in the office, where your natural voice lives. I actually feel like when people answer their phones, like, hey, that's not where your natural voice lives. So it is the voice that is there when you're not really thinking about it, and your voice is directly connected to your body. Every sound you make has a vibration that goes through your body, and it is showing you when you are tense, and it might even show you where you're grounded at. That is it. That is class today. That is the 5 things that actors know about presence that the most of us do not know. And I want to leave you with one thing to think about, to noodle on. And I'd love it if you drop a comment. I respond to everything. What is the one thing that you've been waiting to feel confident enough to do? And then drop it in the chat. And I'm just going to encourage you this week to just go ahead and do it. Do it anyway. And it's not because you feel ready, and it's definitely not because the fear is gone, but the job is to just show up and paint your tree, the most vivid, the most confident, the most accurate tree that you can paint. And no one can paint it but you. Oh, and if this resonated with you, this conversation was me recapping an interview that I'm doing, which is a part of a 4-part series called Girl, Then What Happened, which is in my summer syllabus over on Substack. I sit down with 4 different guest professors who give 4 different lectures where they teach us something about using our free will and just what happens when we stop organizing our life around fear and just using more of our free will. So if this was interesting to you, this is session 1. Go to my Substack and you'll be able to watch the other sessions. I'll see you for session 2. If you enjoyed this video, stick around for my next video, which should be posted right here, which talks about how your nervous system is probably running your life and doing a horrible job at it.